If you have a skin color other than white or speak a language other than English, the immigration police today got permission from the Supreme Court and Donald Trump to arrest you, throw you in jail for a couple days, and check on your citizenship and green card. If you're here legally, you'll probably be let go and will probably be fired from your job because you were out of contact for multiple days. There was a decision made by the Supreme Court today that says it is okay for the immigration police to surround large groups of people and take all of them to jail. Normally, the Supreme Court has to give some sort of explanation for this type of decision. In this case, it did not give any explanation. Normally, the Supreme Court members that made the decision have to sign their names to the order. In this case, they did not sign their names to the order. Lower courts had placed significant restrictions on Trump's efforts to ramp up immigration arrests, but now the Supreme Court says no restrictions.
Imagine walking down the street, grocery bag in your hand, on your way home after work. You're an American citizen born and raised, but today you don't look American enough. Suddenly, an ICE agent pulls you aside, demands to know the hospital where you were born and when. You hesitate. Boom! You are slammed against the wall, handcuffed, detained, and humiliated. Congratulations, your skin color just became a probable cause. This is not dystopian fiction. This is America after the Supreme Court's latest ruling. The Supreme Court has just overturned nearly 50 years of precedent, essentially rolling back protection that once shielded Americans from racial profiling by immigration agents. Remember the 1975 case US versus Brignoni-Ponce that said ruling border patrol couldn't just stop people because they looked Mexican? Well, delete it from history. The court has now said actually race, accent, and even where you work are valid reasons for suspicion. So if you're brown, if you speak Spanish, if you have an accent, you're automatically under suspicion in your own country. And here's the kicker. You don't even have to be undocumented. You could be a US citizen carrying valid ID and still end up cuffed for hours or even days. Welcome to second-class citizenship. All right, let's watch some of these clips that build up the story, and then I'll be back with my further analysis on this topic.
Supreme Court just ruled that ICE can use your race or your accent as reasonable suspicion to detain you. In a ruling Monday, the Supreme Court once again backed Trump's immigration policies and overturned the blocking of a judge in Southern California, which said that race or an accent is not enough to say that there is reasonable suspicion that this person is illegal and then hence can be detained. The Supreme Court overturned that, saying that race and an accent or a language, so say if somebody looks Latino or speaks Spanish, that is basically enough to qualify that there's a reasonable suspicion that they might be undocumented and hence can be detained by ICE. I can't even begin to process the ramifications that this will have, but essentially, as a liberal justice on the court said, this essentially makes any Latino person in the US fair game for being detained by ICE. And same goes for people who have an accent.
Do you have your passport?
Somewhere?
Can I see your passport, please? Do you have your visa?
I don't need a visa, sir. I am a US citizen.
When did you become a U.S. citizen?
When? 2006?
Okay. Well, do you have your passport?
In safe, but I don't have.
This is going to happen more and more. The Supreme Court cleared the way for federal agents to racially profile immigrants based on their color of skin, accent, and their race. And this is going to impact US citizens like this woman who looks Hispanic. Previous federal courts said federal agents cannot use race, where people work, what they look like, to detain them. The Supreme Court says no, it's making their job more complicated and will allow it. As a result, you're going to see more people being detained, including US citizens. This is going to harm families and small businesses. The fight is not over. We'll see more appeals on this, but this is a sad day for immigration and for immigrants. Follow me for updates just like this one. I
mean, what in the actual...
I'm American, bro. What hospital are you? Yo, these guys are literally based off of skin color.
That dude's name is Jason Brian Gavidia. He's an American-born American citizen and resident of Los Angeles. He's also an entrepreneur and a small business owner of a body shop in LA. He is a member of the working class living the American dream. But because he's Hispanic like 65 million other American citizens right now, Donald Trump's armed, masked private military, he looks like an undocumented immigrant. And that is all it took for them to come to his place of work, twist his arm and throw him up against a fence, and when he said he was an American, demand to know what hospital he was born in. By the way, regardless of your ethnicity, can you name what hospital you were born in? Because I fucking can't, and I was born 90 minutes from here. Now, this assault took place back in June, and in part because of this assault, multiple federal judges ordered the Trump administration to stop fucking racial profiling, because looking at a person and assuming they're a criminal because of their skin color is racist as fuck, especially when you're a federal officer who took an oath to uphold the Constitution. Besides, let's flip it real quick. Do all old white men want us to assume that they're a predator just because they happen to look like the predator blob in the White House? Because it is literally the guys who said not all men who are saying, yeah, but probably all Hispanics. But now this is once again legal because the MAGA majority on the Supreme Court that cares more about their loyalty to Trump than they do about the Constitution use the shadow docket to permit racial profiling while the appeal goes through. Because to them, it's more important to allow the president to be racist as fuck than it is to protect the 4th and 14th Amendments of the Constitution, which together protect all people from illegal search and seizure and demand equal protection under the law. 2 constitutional protections that for 20% of Americans no longer apply. And even though we may win out at the end of the appeals process, I hope every single voter, Hispanic or otherwise, remembers when you go to the ballot box, it never should have come to this.
Good people, picture this. A US citizen with brown skin is stopped. He hands over his license. He insists, I was born here, but the officer doesn't like his accent. Doesn't like how that he can't immediately name the hospital where he was born. So they pin him against a wall and hold him in cuffs for 20 minutes. He's eventually released, humiliated, shaken, and very much aware of his place in America's racial hierarchy. That's the 4th Amendment dying in real time. And the Supreme Court is the one pulling the trigger. Let's not sugarcoat this, guys. The court has just legalized racial profiling on a national scale. It's not just about immigration enforcement anymore. It is about normalizing suspicion based on skin tone. You're brown, you're a suspect. And the hypocrisy, chef's kiss. Just months ago, the same court ruled that universities couldn't consider race in admissions. Colorblind constitution, quote unquote, they said. But now, suddenly race is perfectly valid if it's being used to lock people up. So race doesn't count for opportunity, but it counts for punishment. That's not just contradiction. That's systemic gaslighting. I'm really sorry for my Mexican brothers and sisters and Spanish brothers and sisters. I'd not fall for the but it's only for undocumented people excuse. That's a lame excuse. The court didn't write any guardrails. That means ICE can stop entire groups of brown people, throw them in holding cells, and sort it out later. Meanwhile, people lose jobs, families are separated, and businesses suffer. That's the America for you. So basically, the court just gave ICE the green light to play guess who, but with human rights. Does your suspect have brown skin? Check. Speak Spanish? Check. Works in construction or agriculture? Check. Congratulations, you win an all expenses paid trip to detention. No passport required, baby. This is not law enforcement, by the way. This is racial bingo with handcuffs. Let us pause for a moment, because history is whispering warnings in our ears. When you create a legal system that says some citizens are full citizens and others are provisional, others second-class citizens, you're not just bending the Constitution, you're breaking it. And this is exactly how apartheid laws worked in South Africa. This is how the Nazis gradually stripped rights away from Jewish citizens, not overnight, but case by case, ruling by ruling, until an entire population lived under permanent suspicion. Now, I am saying America is Nazi Germany. No, but I'm saying the logic is the same. And if you think it could never happen here, well, guess what? It is happening here. It is happening in America. And let's call out the elephant in the room. This ruling is not just about law and order. It is about race, it is about power, it is about political theater. Roving immigration patrols don't actually make America safer. They don't stop fentanyl. They don't fix broken borders. What they do is create fear, division, and permanent underclass of people who have to prove their Americanness every single day they move on the American roads. That's not right. And let me tell you, this is not security, it is state-sanctioned harassment. And if you think you're safe because you're not Latino, think again. Once the president is set, the government can expand suspicion to anyone they want. Today it's brown people. Tomorrow it might be protesters. Maybe they might come for the black community. Maybe it's journalists. Maybe it's you. Anyone. No one is safe right now. Imagine ICE checkpoints at Starbucks. Excuse me, sir. Your Latin order had too much Spanish in it. You're coming with us. Or worse, maybe. Sorry, man. You pronounce Quisquedela correctly. That's suspicious behavior. Step out of the line. You sound Spanish. That's ridiculous for sure, but that's what happens when the law is no longer about evidence but about vibes. So let's recap. Let us go back and make you understand. The court overturned nearly 50 years of precedent. They guarded the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable searches. They gave ICE the full permission to racially profile people, and they didn't even bother to sign their names to the ruling. This is not a legal change. It is a cultural earthquake. It tells millions of Americans you will always be guilty until proven innocent. The Supreme Court has effectively created two Americas, one where citizenship is assumed and one where citizenship must be constantly defended. And the line dividing these two Americas isn't paperwork, it's skin tone, it's accent, it's ethnicity. You're white, you're Latino, you're Spanish, you're black. This is not about immigration policy, this is constitutional apartheid. And here's the question we need to ask ourselves right now. If the highest court in the land can erase rights for millions of people with a stroke of a pen, what does that say about the future of democracy itself? America claims to be the world's #1 democratic country because democracy dies not just in darkness but in silence. And if we stay silent now, don't be surprised when they come for the rest of you Americans later. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. I hope to see you in the next video.